Kai Asakura has fired a clear warning shot at Tim Elliott ahead of their flyweight showdown at UFC 319 this weekend. The former Ryzen superstar shocked many MMA fans when he entered the UFC last December and was immediately granted a title shot against reigning champion Alexandre Pantoja at UFC 310. While the debut was high-profile, it ended in disappointment for Asakura as Pantoja secured a second-round submission to successfully defend his belt. Despite this setback, the 31-year-old displayed the sharp striking and composure that earned him a reputation as one of Japan's most dangerous MMA exports. Now gearing up for his second Octagon appearance, Asakura will face veteran contender Tim Elliott, a fighter known for his unpredictable movement and awkward style. It's a matchup that blends the explosive, precise striking of Asakura with the crafty, unorthodox approach of Elliott, a stylistic clash that could deliver fireworks. Speaking ahead of the bout, Asakura honed in on one of Elliott's most recognizable habits: his tendency to keep his hands low when blocking strikes. The Japanese striker didn't mince words about how he'd handle it. "I think if he does that against me, I will probably KO him in a second. I think he should be careful with that." Elliott's tricky defense has frustrated a long list of opponents, but Asakura's confidence in his ability to capitalize on any defensive gaps adds an extra layer of intrigue. Both fighters are looking to climb the flyweight ladder, Elliott aiming to stay relevant in a stacked division, and Asakura eager to prove he's more than just a one-fight title challenger. If Elliott sticks to his trademark style on fight night, he may be playing a dangerous game against a striker as ruthless as Asakura. And if Asakura's prediction comes true, UFC 319 could feature one of the fastest finishes of the year. Bobby King Green has built a reputation in the UFC as a fighter who almost never pulls out of a bout. But just days before UFC 319, the veteran lightweight was forced to withdraw from his scheduled clash with Carlos Diego Ferreira in Chicago. The announcement came Thursday, and it wasn't the only blow to the card. A welterweight fight on the undercard also fell through. For Green, who has only withdrawn from a single fight in the past 6 years, against Jim Miller, the decision was agonizing. In a candid video message to fans, he explained the situation and made it clear this wasn't the kind of injury he could simply fight through. "Back in the day I've had pullouts, but somewhere along the line I said, I'm not ever pulling out of a fight," Green said. "If I gotta limp my back there, I'll limp into the cage, but I'm never pulling out. This one is a little bit different. I can't even walk, guys." Green, currently on crutches, said that if it were a broken hand or a less severe injury, he would have stayed silent and competed. But this time, the damage made it physically impossible. He apologized to fans and teammates, admitting the disappointment hit him harder than anyone else. "I worked so hard to get here. I let myself down even more than I let anybody else down," he said. "It just sucks to take this stuff, bro. I got people that look up to me and need me. Got the F crutches right here. It is what it is, man. I'm really sorry and thank you for everyone that really rides with me." Despite the setback, UFC 319 remains a 13-fight card headlined by Dana White's highly anticipated Fight of the Year candidate between middleweight champion Dricus du Plessis and undefeated contender Khamzat Chimaev. The co-main event will see featherweight contender Lerone Murphy take on debuting phenom Aaron Pico, while a last-minute addition pits Chimaev's teammate Basengur Susurkayev, fresh off a win on Tuesday's Contender Series against Eric Nolan in an ultra-short notice bout. Green didn't offer a timeline for his return, but his track record suggests he'll be aiming to recover quickly and get back to the cage as soon as possible. The UFC 320 card is quickly shaping up to be one of the year's most stacked events, and the latest edition brings a mix of high-level grappling and fresh international talent to the lineup. The promotion confirmed that former Bellator bantamweight champion Patchy will return to the Octagon to face reigning KSW bantamweight champion Jakub Wicklacz, who will be making his UFC debut. The bout is scheduled for October 4, 2025, at the T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas. Mix, 31, made his UFC debut at UFC 316 this past June, but suffered a lopsided unanimous decision loss to rising contender Mario Bautista. Prior to that setback, No Love was riding a dominant 7-fight winning streak in Bellator, where he captured and defended the bantamweight title. With a professional record of 20-2, Mix is a proven finisher, securing 13 of his wins by submission. His opponent, Jakub Masa Wicklacz, enters the UFC riding his own wave of momentum. The Polish standout last fought at KSW 95 in June 2024, successfully defending his belt with a second-round submission over Sebastian Pribish. Wicklacz is unbeaten in his last 7 outings and brings a the 2nd of March 16 record, with 10 wins via submission, signaling that this clash could quickly turn into a high-level ground battle. This matchup joins an already loaded UFC 320 card, headlined by a light heavyweight title rematch between champion Magomed Ankalaev and former champ Alex Pereira. The co-main event will see bantamweight king Merab Dvalishvili put his belt on the line against Corey Sandhagen, marking his 3rd defense in 2025. Elsewhere on the card, former 205-pound champion Jiri Prochazka will face dangerous knockout artist Khalil Roundtree Jr., while the main card also features 3 intriguing middleweight bouts: Abbas Magomedov vs. Joe Pyfer, Ateba Gautier vs. Ozzy Diaz, and Edmund Shabazian vs. Andre Muniz. With Mix vs. Wicklacz now official, UFC 320 has a mix of championship stakes, fan-favorite names, and stylistic clashes that could make it one of the most memorable fight nights of the year. Khamzat Chimaev's mindset heading into his UFC 319 middleweight title clash with Dricus du Plessis is raising eyebrows, not because of trash talk or confidence, but because of how little he claims to care about actually keeping the belt. A couple of years ago, Boers was publicly calling out UFC CEO Dana White, frustrated that a 12-0 record hadn't yet earned him a title shot. Now, just days before fighting for gold, the undefeated Chechen star says his priorities have shifted. Money first, belt second, or maybe not at all. In a recent YouTube conversation with UFC Hall of Famer Daniel Cormier, Chimaev posed a blunt question. "I have a question for you, bro. You wanted $10 million or just the belt?" Cormier reminded him that the belt leads to $10 million, pointing out that becoming champion is the fastest way to secure big paydays. But Chimaev doubled down, explaining that his real focus is on beating his opponent, entertaining the fans, and going home with a massive paycheck, without the mental weight of obsessing over championship status. In fact, Chimaev went so far as to say that if he wins, he might just take the belt back to Chechnya and give it away to someone in his hometown. For him, the title's symbolic value is greater for his community than for himself. "If you work hard, belt is coming, bro. I don't need that belt. So if I take it, maybe bring that back to my country and give it someone else," he said. Of course, the first guy who become a UFC champion from Chechnya, that's big for them. Chimaev has been channeling that community-first mentality in other ways too. Much like Khabib Nurmagomedov's $5 million training facility in Sildi, he's been building a gym in his village to give young athletes a place to train in wrestling and MMA. "It's my time to give back," he explained, describing the project as an investment in the next generation of fighters. This week, the 31-year-old has also been addressing criticisms about his cardio by working with renowned strength and conditioning coach Sam Calavita. The goal is to make sure fatigue won't be a factor against du Plessis, a fighter known for his relentless pace. With UFC 319's main event just around the corner, Dana White has said he's expecting fireworks. And while Chimaev may be publicly downplaying the importance of the belt, his training, preparation, and intensity suggest that when the cage door closes, Boers will be chasing more than just a payday. Conor McGregor has moved quickly to shut down swirling rumors about his UFC status, responding just hours after claims emerged that he'd been removed from the promotion's roster. The chatter began when UFC Roster Watch, an account that monitors the organization's website for fighter changes, posted that the Notorious was no longer listed. Given that McGregor has been out of action since breaking his leg against Dustin Poirier in July 2021, and that his planned comeback against Michael Chandler at UFC 303 fell through last year due to a toe injury, the speculation snowballed fast. However, the Irish superstar offered a 5-word rebuttal on social media, while UFC CEO Dana White firmly dismissed the idea that McGregor had been cut. Veteran MMA journalist Ariel Helwani further confirmed the situation after speaking directly to McGregor and his team, reporting that not only is the former 2-division champion still on the roster, but he's also back in the USADA testing pool and has already submitted clean samples. "It's all systems a go," McGregor reportedly told Helwani, reinforcing his intention to return to action. While no official fight date has been locked in, McGregor has been vocal about wanting to compete at the UFC's historic White House event, scheduled for July 4, 2026, a card Dana White has billed as a potential once-in-a-lifetime spectacle. The UFC boss even suggested that he trusts McGregor to headline such a show, citing the Irishman's history of always showing up when healthy, a standard he was less confident about with fellow superstar Jon Jones. For now, McGregor remains a UFC fighter in good standing, training and waiting for the right stage to make his long-awaited return. Whether that stage ends up being the White House lawn or somewhere else, the latest twist in the rumor mill only seems to have reignited the spotlight on MMA's most polarizing figure. Tensions are at a boiling point ahead of UFC 319, with Dricus du Plessis and Khamzat Chimaev looking every bit ready to rip into each other, just days before their middleweight title clash. On Thursday, the two came face-to-face following the official pre-fight press conference, creating a stare-down so intense that UFC CEO Dana White had to physically intervene. There was no shoving or trash talk in that exact moment, but the body language said it all. Du Plessis locked his glare on Chimaev without flinching, while Chimaev played directly to the loud, pro-Chimaev Chicago crowd, smiling, soaking in the energy, and repeatedly chanting, "God is the greatest," before leaving the stage. The building's energy made it crystal clear that the fans were firmly behind Chimaev. Every word from Boers was met with thunderous applause, while du Plessis was drowned out by boos almost every time he opened his mouth. Chimaev embraced the moment, delivering one of the night's most blunt and hostile predictions. "I'm just going to go and F him up. That's it. Africa is never going to see the belt again." If the crowd's reaction bothered du Plessis, he didn't show it. In fact, he encouraged them to get even louder, embracing the role of the villain while keeping his focus locked on the fight ahead. For the South African champion, all that matters is the end result. "We all have our motivations. The motivations differ, the outcome will be the same. I'm walking out there champion. He's getting his money whether he wins or loses. It's a good day at the office for him. I'll only be satisfied when I walk out of there with my belt." The two fighters are expected to have one final intense stare-down during Friday's official weigh-ins before stepping into the Octagon on Saturday night for a 5-round war. With the heated crowd split sharply down national and regional lines, the high stakes of a middleweight title fight, and two fighters with knockout power and bad intentions, UFC 319's main event is shaping up to be one of the most emotionally charged showdowns of the year, and perhaps one of the most unforgettable. The UFC's blockbuster 7-year, $7.7 billion broadcast deal with Paramount, set to begin in 2026, is already being hailed as a massive win for the promotion's bottom line. But UFC veteran Matt Brown is far from convinced it will change anything for the fighters themselves. Brown, speaking on The Fighter versus the Writer, said history tells him that when the UFC lands big media contracts, such as previous partnerships with Fox and ESPN, fighter pay doesn't suddenly surge in proportion to the company's increased revenue. While wages have gradually risen over time, he argues those bumps are more tied to the sport's natural growth, rather than any direct, revenue-sharing windfall. "It sounds like another brilliant, gigantic win for the UFC," Brown said. "The question is this going to benefit the fighters?" If history tells us anything, the answer is no. Maybe it will, but I doubt it. Brown noted that the UFC operates like any other business, with its primary focus on maximizing profit, and without a fighter union or organized push for better contracts, there's little incentive for the promotion to allocate a larger cut of broadcast money to athletes. In his view, the UFC can easily replace anyone who pushes back. You want to fight the UFC? Fine. They'll sign the next 100 guys to replace you, Brown said. They'll build another star. There's 1,000 Paddy Pimblets out there. From personal experience, Brown knows many fighters enter the sport from disadvantaged backgrounds, and even modest UFC paydays feel life-changing at first. Early in his career, a $20,000 purse made him feel rich, and advice from veterans like Rich Franklin to approach fighting as a business often fell on deaf ears. "I thought I was a warrior, not a businessman," Brown recalled. Without collective bargaining power, Brown likens fighters to modern-day gladiators, not literally enslaved, but still subject to the whims of the emperor, in this case the UFC. "They're profiting a lot off your name. They're great businessmen," he said, "but there's no counterbalance." Several antitrust lawsuits are in motion against the UFC, aiming to shift the sport's economics, but Brown is skeptical they'll yield meaningful change. He pointed to corporate history, where major legal settlements rarely stop big companies from pursuing profitable deals. In his blunt assessment, unless fighters organize, the Paramount deal won't mean bigger paychecks for the roster. They don't have to pay fighters more, they will get away with it. Don't get your hopes up. Khamzat Chimaev is set to challenge Dricus du Plessis for the UFC middleweight title at UFC 319. While Chimaev's current focus is on the 185-pound belt, he has a history of calling out fighters outside his division, including former middleweight champion Alex Pereira. After Pereira defeated Israel Adesanya at UFC 281, Chimaev expressed interest in facing him, prompting mixed reactions. Ex-heavyweight Brendan Schaub predicted that Chimaev's wrestling-heavy style would overwhelm Pereira, claiming he would likely take him down within 30 seconds. Pereira, not one to back down, responded on the MMA Hour by proposing a $100,000 charity bet with Schaub, $50,000 if Pereira beats Chimaev. $50,000 if Chimaev fails to take Pereira down within 30 seconds. Pereira also invited Chimaev to join the bet, with all funds earmarked for children in need. Essentially, Pereira is using this challenge to defend his skills, push back against critics, and turn a potential confrontation into a charitable cause. The situation sets up an intriguing narrative. Chimaev rising to his first title shot, while Pereira stakes his claim as a dangerous middleweight and competitor across multiple divisions. If you want, I can break down how styles and past performances make this fight potentially competitive or one-sided. The matchup is actually more complex than the hype suggests. Joe Rogan has made it clear he sees the UFC's new multi-billion-dollar broadcast partnership with Paramount as a game-changing moment for the sport of mixed martial arts. The announcement of the $7.7 billion agreement sent shockwaves through the MMA community, with the deal ensuring that every numbered UFC event, plus all Fight Night cards, will stream live on Paramount Plus each year. On top of that, 4 special events annually are slated for CBS, offering the UFC an even broader mainstream TV presence. On the Joe Rogan Experience, the veteran UFC commentator broke down why he thinks this move could push MMA into an unprecedented growth phase. He called Paramount's strategy super smart, marveling at how accessible the product would become for fans. Using simple math to make his point, Rogan noted that a Paramount Plus subscription, at around $10 per month, comes to about $120 per year, which is less than the price of just 2 UFC pay-per-views under the traditional model. For Rogan, the fact that subscribers will be able to watch every UFC event without the steep pay-per-view price tag is incredible and something that could cause the sport to go tech and hypernova. While praising the move, Rogan also expressed hope that UFC's relationship with ESPN stays intact, given how influential the network remains in the sports media landscape. His optimism on that front is backed by the fact that TKO Group Holdings, UFC's parent company, recently reached a deal with ESPN to carry WWE's premium live events in the US, a sign that the corporate ties between ESPN and TKO will likely keep UFC content visible on major platforms like SportsCenter. UFC CEO Dana White, in a separate appearance on Pardon My Take, addressed questions about Rogan's role in the new broadcast era. White reassured fans that Rogan will continue calling the majority of the UFC's marquee numbered events, though he acknowledged that Rogan's schedule has lightened in recent years due to his other commitments. In White's eyes, Rogan remains an integral part of the UFC's presentation, someone whose voice, experience, and energy have been woven into the sport's identity for decades. And with this Paramount deal poised to put UFC events in front of a wider audience than ever before, Rogan's enthusiastic stamp of approval feels like both a nod to the promotion's history and a signal that an even bigger stage lies ahead.